Welcome back to Weekly Guitar Videos, everybody. I'm Neil, and today we're going to be talking about pedal boards. Going to explain some stuff on how to best lay out your pedal board, some pitfalls to avoid, and also we're going to talk about effects order for a little bit. So let's get into it. So the first thing you want to do when laying out your pedal board is to simply figure out where everything fits on your board. Now, the way to do that is to think about effects order. Now I have my pedals laid out here in a particular order so that they sound the best to me. Starting out, we have the tuner in the front, and that's pretty commonplace for it. You can have it at the back of the chain too, it doesn't really matter. And then next we have fuzz, and that's generally your next in the chain if you don't have a wah pedal. So fuzz into compressor, into overdrive, and then, we'll only just talk about this briefly, but I have a buffer here because I have so much cable, I need a little something to keep the juice flowing through all these true bypass pedals. From there, over into chorus vibrato, delay, reverb, and delay and looper. So, there's a reason that I have most of these laid out the way I do. I like my drives to go into my modulation. I like the way it hits those effects. Some people will have modulation into drive. I don't like the sound of that as much. So that's why I have that laid out. Now, gain order is kind of subjective on what you want to do with it. I like my fuzz first, then my compressor, then my drive. And the best way to figure that out is just to swap your pedals around until you get to what you like, because a lot of people like different things. So I put Velcro on the back of all my pedals, stuck them all to the board, so we're all ready to go, and basically just start wiring it up. So first things first is power. I like to get power out of the way first because it just makes things a little easier if you have any issues later on. So I'm using a Creation Music Company board here, and it has a couple of holes in the side that you can run your power right through. So let's kind of snake this through. It's kind of tedious. And the other great thing about Creation Music Company is you have these slots for running your power up through, and that makes things really, really nice and a lot easier. So keep on feeding all these power supplies through. And I'm just using a daisy chain. A lot of people will get more kind of fancy with their power sources, but I'm actually using 2 daisy chains just because I have that many pedals. But daisy chains work just fine most of the time. And if they don't, you can always get something a little more sophisticated. I might do that at some point because I like the sound of some of the Chase Bliss audio pedals running at 18 volts rather than 9. And so, there we go, I got my power, power coming out both sides. And then I can just hook my actual plug-ins right up to it. And now, we just start snaking one spots through. And this can get kind of tedious too, so I'll do my best to keep it brief. Now the main reason I like running power first is just because you don't have to take everything back apart later on once you've got your patch cables in, if you have power issues. So, hoping I did this right and we don't have power issues, but we will see. And a lot of times with higher current draw pedals like the Boss RV500 here, you are going to want a different power supply because you'll get some noise if you run something at too low current like that. You know, something that takes a lot of current, like a sophisticated digital delay like that. But it works in my chain just fine, so I haven't had to come up with any solutions to it. But something to consider if you have noise issues in your chain. Alright, so as you can see, we got power to everything. I snaked all my power supplies from the bottom through these wonderful little notches that Creation Music Company gives you in their boards. And it just really makes things a lot cleaner. Now if you'll notice, I do have a few patch cables already ran. And that's only just to show that we have power to these guys, because they don't come on until you hook a patch cable up to them. That's the buffer and the RV500. So next would be to run the patch cables. So the ones I like to use, I get them from 5 Star Guitar here in Portland, and they're really good. They're just, you can do all sorts of stuff with them. They're really low profile, and almost every single patch cable I'm using is that. I got this one from Sinusoid Cables and soldered it together myself just to have a little longer one, kind of the right length. So you go output to input on every single one. Output of the Pelotar to the Pettyjohn Crush. And also, if you're watching and you still haven't checked out the Pelotar, what are you doing with your life? Pelican Noise Works is run by my good friend Leon, and he makes some pretty awesome pedals. So definitely check those out if you're into rad fuzzes. And I just got one more patch cable to run here. Maybe 2. Yeah, we got 2. Here we go. I'm just running in mono out of the RV500 right now, so I'm only plugging into the left out side of things. It's good to not have stress on your patch cables, but some of these, with how just flexible they are, it really doesn't matter. If you're using more rigid patch cables, it would be more of an issue. But now, one more. There we have it. So just connect the out of the warp vinyl hi-fi. And sometimes you gotta rip up your Velcro to make your connections on a tight board like this. And we're all wired up. So let's talk about my pedals for just a little bit, because I love every single thing on this board. I've owned so many pedals over the years, and these are the ones that have stuck around. So I already mentioned the Pelotar. I've mentioned it in several videos. It's one of my favorites. So really awesome fuzz. But moving on, Pettyjohn Crush is hands down my favorite compressor. I use it all over the place in the band, in my videos. It's just really a great compressor that doesn't destroy your tone. On over to L Dumble Drive, also made by Leon from Pelican Noise Works. This isn't one of his production pedals, just a little something he threw together for me, but it's became one of my favorite drives. Just does that Dumble style overdrive pretty well. On over to the Solid Gold Effects buffer, which I really love a lot of stuff from Solid Gold Effects, and I just haven't gotten around to getting very much from them yet. But I needed a buffer, and that one does the job. I have their collaboration with Blake from the Tone Mob, their Model 1 fuzz, which I really like. Just didn't quite have a spot on this board. Moving on over to the Chase Bliss Audio Warp Vinyl Hi-Fi, and my most recent video was a review of this guy, and I'm really loving it, so it's definitely sticking around. On over to the trusty Tonal Recall, my absolute favorite analog delay. Running into the Boss RV500, which I'm still getting acquainted with, but I'm really loving the sounds I'm getting so far. You guys might have seen a review on that one too. Into my latest acquisition, the Count to 5 from Montreal Assembly. Now this thing is wild, and I'm definitely going to be doing a demo of it soon, so keep an eye out for that. basics. I'm Neil with Weekly Guitar Videos. We'll see you next time.